Okay, speech time. Hi, graduates. Congratulations. I so wish that I could be there in person with you, but I'm happy to at least have a moment to wish you the best of joy and luck as you embark on this new chapter of your life now that you're graduating. My name is Lauren Patten. My pronouns are she, her. And I am an actor and a singer living in New York City, and I've studied at both Stella Adler Studio and the Art of Acting Studio. So I am one of your alumni, and I'm so grateful that I've been asked to speak to you on this graduation day or night. I believe it's night, however. I can only imagine what it must feel like to graduate during this time. My journey with Adler was a little all over the place. I never officially graduated a program because of life circumstances and financial circumstances. I started at Stella Adler Studio through NYU Tisch when I was an 18-year-old baby and fell so deeply in love with the studio, with the history, and with the technique that was taught at Adler. And when I could no longer continue studying at NYU, I found my way out to LA and immediately found my way to the Art of Acting Studio so that I could continue my studies. And I'm so grateful, more grateful than I could truly say, for the numerous gifts that all those experiences have given me. So I never had a traditional graduation experience. I didn't graduate from a conservatory program or from a university program. I have my degree now, but it's in creative writing, so that was a little different. But I really can only imagine what it feels like to be graduating in such a fraught time and in which you're not able to celebrate and be together in the ways that you probably expected to be able to. Because of course, why would we expect anything different, right? And I think that it would be so deeply natural to think of that as a loss and as something that you're missing out on. It probably doesn't look how you want it to look. That's something I've been grappling with a lot, is this feeling of this isn't how I want it to look. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, I was on Broadway starring in a musical called Jagged Little Pill, and I was performing a character that I developed from the very first reading and would finally made it to Broadway and got to have a few months of a run, and we were gearing up for a Tony season, and then COVID-19 hit. And so there's plenty of voices in my brain talking to me about how this doesn't look like how I wanted it to look. This isn't what I expected. It's not how I want it to be. I was sold a different thing, right? And so I can only imagine how vulnerable that feels when you are embarking on this new journey as a recently graduated trained actor, trained artist, wanting to move into your career, into this creative field, at a time when our industry is just starting to get back on its feet in the film and television world, very tentatively, and in a time when theater is not safe at the moment. So I hear that, I feel it, I'm in it with you, and I think what I'd like to say to you is I'd like to encourage you to look at what the gains are, because I think the obvious choice is to look at it as a loss. And that's not to diminish any feelings you might be having about this. I've been trying to honor the fact that I feel sad and I feel angry and that I'm grieving for so many reasons during this time. However, I think that there are some incredible things that I've noticed myself picking up and noticing myself gaining, I suppose, and I want to encourage you to look for those moments during this time as well. Part of why, when I first applied to school, I knew I wanted to study at Stella Adler. I said, that is the studio for me, and I very emphatically told the person who interviewed me for NYU, this is where I want to be, was because of the mission statement of the Adler Studios. And the quote that has been the guiding light of my career and of my life is that growth as an actor and growth as a human being are synonymous, and that is what the studio is built on, and that is what I've built my career around. And I think that we are in a time in which we have an extraordinary opportunity to grow as human beings. And we may not be in a position to grow our careers materially, or if we look at it in the outward fashion. We can't go on a bunch of open calls. We're not going to get work in theater for a little bit now. But I think that all of you have an opportunity to grow as human beings that we don't often get, because we don't often have the ability to be this still and this observant and this in communion with other people. And I don't mean in communion, of course, in person. We're not doing large gatherings, but actually really taking a look at the world that we're in and how we want to move through it, and finding the communities of people who support how we want to move through this world. I think that the events of this summer, with the horrible, atrocious murders of Breonna Taylor, of George Floyd, Tony McDade, and of too many other innocent Black people to count, have changed my perspective in a way that is deeply necessary and is going to make me a better person and a better actor because of it. And I don't say that in order to make the enormous events of this summer only personal to me or about me. It's not about me. But I say that to encourage you to look at this time that we're in our life and say, how can I be a better person among people? How can I listen? How can I cultivate radical empathy and radical acceptance of the situation that we're all in? And how can I contribute as a person? Because I think we're all looking for ways, as we deal with terrible loss and terrible and very right anger and injustice. I think we are all looking for ways to contribute. And we have the opportunity to, because we have time. While this pandemic is truly horrible, and it is keeping us from doing things like being on stage and like pushing forward in our careers in the ways that we might have planned or wanted to, it has given us a giant gift of time. And so I hope that we can all take this time to cultivate ourselves as human beings and trust and know that that will make our work better. It will make our work better. It'll make us better people to work with. You have an unbelievable opportunity as new, energized, thriving young actors in this industry to demand that the industry shows up for us in the way that we want it to. I know I have been a part of a small part, mostly an observer, but of the conversations around the systemic racism on Broadway. And I have been deeply grateful for the privilege of being a part of those conversations, and I want to show up for those. And I encourage you to think about the theatrical communities that you already are in, including the studio, and including whatever theaters you've already worked at, whatever spaces you are in, and using your voice to ask for that industry to represent us properly and to actually show humanity as we know it. And that is what Adler was talking about when growth as a human being and growth as an actor are synonymous. That is what we get to do. We get to create these spaces for ourselves. We get to create work in these spaces. And that work is reflective of the humanity that we believe in, the humanity that we want others to believe in and want others to see represented. And so that's both on stage and off. So all of this is to say that even though this graduation is probably not under the circumstances that you wanted or expected, maybe that this graduation can be under circumstances that you will grow from, and grow from in a way that you could not have gotten to had all of these different crazy circumstances and coalesced at the same time. So let that be an opportunity. Let that guide you. Let that inspire you. Let that lead you to inspire others. And let that inform the work that you're going to do sooner rather than later. And trust that theater is resilient, art is resilient. There is a reason that theater has been around since the ancient Greeks. It's not going anywhere. You will have your time to shine on stage. You'll have your time to shine in front of the camera. And trust that whatever work you do in the meantime is going to serve you as an actor and as an artist and as a person among people in this world. Congratulations. Thank you for sharing your beautiful work and your beautiful selves with us and with this studio. And I cannot wait to see what you do.